What the fuck? Why? Has not been initialized. What do you mean? How has it not been initialized? Okay. Oh yeah, DK. Sort of disappoint. Okay, so what the fuck? What am I doing wrong? Why is it complaining? Set graphics for root descriptor table. Okay. Specify GPU descriptor handle at 0 offset. It's the most fucking run-on sentence ever. Like, I can't make sense of what the hell they're saying. Descriptor table parameter index 1. Mismatching types. I'll command list. I don't understand. How do they have mismatching types? Should that be? Hmm. Oh my god, I don't feel like setting this all up. What? What? Oh, yeah, that'll do it. What's in here? Maybe now? Okay. Now we can fail gracefully. Why are we failing? Okay. Let's try that again. Let's see if we can take a capture at launch. No? You're not going to capture? I guess it makes sense. There's no frame. Let's have AI proofread my code. How does my code look? Okay. And let's give it my other code. But it's not in the draw. That is in my begin frame. That's actually wrong. I should move this out to put it here for now. Okay, why is AI not seeing any issues with my code? Okay. Then why am I seeing that? Okay, but I'm not creating. Thought I just showed you what I did. There you go, Mr. AI. Look at my code. What am I doing wrong? Wait a minute. Wait. Never mind, AI. AI doesn't see my code. Because I... Wait a second. Let's clean up the code. First, we don't have a matrix heap. We don't have an object heap. We have a descriptor heap. Hey. You finished how to write free error code? What do you mean? Okay, so wherever I have a compile error, that's where my problems are. I must be using the wrong descriptor heap. I know that means a lot to everybody who's watching. Fuck, I have no error. So what is using the wrong heap? Like safety critical code, like stuff for safety critical systems kind of thing. where you can prove like mathematically that your code is safe, and or I guess that's different. Type safe meaning you're using the compiler and the type system to make sure that things aren't airing out on you. I'm not sure I follow 100%. Okay. Interesting. Where were you learning that? Is that a school thing or? Okay. But I have an SPV range. Did I not just? Did I not just send it? Have a look. Okay, crazy cat. It is 3. It's a freaking const. Oh. Yes, I love you too. I'm constantly covered in cat here. This is Luna. She's a big baby. She probably just wants me to give her food right now. But she already has food. Okay. My heap's probably good. What's the problem? Yeah, I'll show it as soon as I can get it to run. I just broke something, so you're gonna have to wait a little bit. I've thought about it. This little girl. Mwah. There we go. When I want to get her off my lap so I can work, I just smother her with kisses and she gets frustrated and runs away. I don't understand why my shit isn't working. I just started working with D3D12, which, by the way, is like phenomenal. Like coming from Vulkan, 600 lines of code or whatever, 700 lines of code, and you know, a single triangle in Vulkan was like 1,400 lines. This code, as soon as I get the scene graph loaded, is going to get refactored and stuff's going to get abstracted out, just because I'm sort of just coding away right now, getting comfortable with Direct3D12. I don't know. Like, this should be fine. Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm gonna finish that tutorial on modern Vulkan. I haven't seen 1.4 doesn't really add that much. 1.2 and 1.3 definitely add some cool features, but it's still like it's like it was designed to just give you everything, and it's like put it back together from scratch, like, which is cool. Like, it's almost like you're doing assembly code when it comes to graphics APIs, but like some stuff can have a sane default so that you don't have to be explicit about everything, you know? No, it is. It certainly is. Like, you don't have to use render passes anymore, right? Which they have their place, especially for mobile. You can do like, you don't have to use VK frame buffers. Like, you don't have to define a bunch of stuff. It's still a shitload of code, and that's not really where the problem was with Vulkan. It's like all the barriers and transitions and stuff. Like, you still have to do all of that stuff in D3D12, but it's like it's a one line. Whereas in Vulkan, it's like you're being hyper specific about things that 99% of the time have a default. Like, I guess you could just write functions around everything, but it's still kind of a frustrating API to some extent. And I don't know. I got interested in, because I really like DX11, so I've always wanted to play with DX12, and we'll see. I don't know. Not really. Like, it doesn't really even matter. Like, the complexity of what I'm working on right now is like this stuff, which is like the USD stage processing stuff. Where so I had to. So if you look at USD, I have this little scene that I made in Maya. Just reinstalled everything recently, but just quick little nothing. Like, this is nothing, right? It's just I wanted to test multiple objects in a scene and instancing as well. So essentially, I made this little shape, and then I instanced it and moved it to the side, and then also made this torus and moved it up and exported this as a USD. And the USD SDK comes with this USD view utility. It doesn't even say the name up there. But essentially, yeah. I did that tutorial, actually. That's how I started with 3D modeling a few years back. But essentially, this kind of shows you what what Maya exports from its USD tooling, and essentially it kind of exports these are X form, like transforms. That's what they are. So essentially, this would be like in engine. This would translate into like a game node, and then underneath this would generate a mesh component, and it would issue like a mesh load in the engine. And this here is just a single use, so it's not an instance. Like this one, I think it says somewhere, or was it on the X form? No, it's here somewhere. I know it says instance somewhere. Am I blind? Anyways, yeah, I have USD integrated now. Well, I mean, just like at a start. The thing is, it kind of, look at the mesh that it gives you, right? I don't know if you noticed the fact that it doesn't give you triangles, right? Like when I wrote a GLTF parser, GLTF is kind of just baked and ready for you to use in your games or in your engine or whatever. Here, you'll notice everything is quads, right? Which is nice if you're going from like a DCC to a DCC, right? Which is what USD is designed for. It's designed to go from tool to tool and back without losing any critical data. So if I export this out of Maya and bring it into Blender, the topology of all of these models is the same. And Pixar has like gone through great lengths making sure the actual format gives you support for all that stuff, right? So it's amazing for tool to tool, but when you want to actually load these meshes into your engine's runtime, you can't feed it quads, obviously. So I had to write a triangulation tool. So basically, this is all sort of like sketch stuff for now. Like I haven't really cleaned it up, but essentially, as I iterate through, where is it? Further down. So essentially I load the stage. The stage is like the scene or the whole, yeah, whatever. We'll call it the scene. And essentially you traverse the stage. And then right now I'm just, whenever I see a prim, the USD, they call everything a prim for primitive. So as soon as I find a mesh prim, I pull that out of the tree, and then I punt it over to my process mesh function, and that function goes through and it pulls out the raw points, so all the quads. I don't want to triangulate in Maya because that would defeat the purpose of using USD for the engine. Otherwise, I would just go back to using GLTF for everything. But essentially, like you pull out everything, you want to display it, so you have to triangulate and optimize it to some extent. Like I want the USD file to be, the whole reason why I'm doing this is so that I can do like level design inside Maya and then punt it off into another tool and then do maybe texturing and blah, blah, blah. And then when I bring it into the engine, I can see the world as I've built it inside of Blender or Maya or whatever tool I want to use that supports USD, which is like everything now. And then once it's brought into, you need to stop, crazy girl, go. So once you bring it into the engine, my vision for this tooling that I'm building is that like whatever, like if I click on something in Maya, right? And I don't know if I'll end up doing this where like one updates the other, but you can actually push commands into Maya. So when I move something in Maya, I want it to automatically move in engine. And then I can like, imagine this is the engine viewport. I click on something, and then instead of editing like, I don't know, modeling specific things on the right side or the left side or whatever, I'm adding like game components, like physics components, health component, whatever, like whatever I'm working on, and then that will get saved into another layer in the USD. Um, and the whole reason why people love USD is because of its composition arcs, so that you could be working in Maya to work on the geometry, like modeling side, and then another person could be working on another layer, also in Maya, but adding animation components to things, right? So animating this thing. Or they probably wouldn't be working at the same time, those two, actually, because they would be changing geometry in both cases. Or in one case, and the other one would require the geometry to be stable. But let's say like one person is doing texturing, another person is doing like something else or whatever. But ultimately, I bring it into the engine, and then that will stack another layer on top. And I can override certain parameters that have been set in Maya. They're called opinions and all that stuff. But I layer on top engine-specific details. So now I have like, my engine is like just another DCC tool in the chain. And then eventually I would click something like bake out or whatever. And then I would write out all the data that I've already processed. I would write it out to my own binary file or something. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Kind of like a modifier stack, but like at a much higher level. Because you have like all the modeling data is in one place, and then another stack would be like, I don't know, stuff that comes out of Houdini or some other tool. And then my engine would like work directly with these objects and reference them by path. Like you can see everything has a path in here. Actually, this tool's kind of bad because it doesn't, oh no, it does show you here. See, path. Everything has like a path that's unique based on its hierarchy. So my engine can always cross-reference back to the USD path for whatever shape I'm working with. So it's kind of cool, right? Like, did I sell a game? No, well, I've released free mobile stuff, but no, I haven't sold a game yet. I'm more of a tech guy, you know. We'll see. We'll see about making games. We're definitely making engines. Yeah, honestly, USD is nuts, and it's funny. It's so nuts that when I brought the SDK into my project, it blew up Visual Studio. So I'm trialing ReSharper, JetBrains ReSharper right now, so that when I open this USD processor CBP file, because I'm importing stuff, headers from the OpenUSD SDK, the moment Visual Studio reaches this file, it like catches fire and fucking dies. So what I had to do was find a way to actually work on this project, work on the USD side of things without Visual Studio dying. So we'll see. ReSharper is pretty cool. Like it can handle everything just fine, but yeah, it's brutal. I brought it into Emacs with ClangD, and it had no problem with it. It's just, yeah, man, it's like 30 years of IDE and they can't get it right. Like it's, you know what though? I think Visual Studio using the LLVM toolchain might switch it's just the indexing. Like it starts trying to index everything and it can't handle OpenUSD. But I think if you use LLVM, I mean, everything is upstaged by Emacs. Come on, it's Emacs. If Emacs had slightly better debugging, I'm probably going to switch back to Emacs. Honestly, like Visual Studio has been pissing me off. Or actually, Writer by JetBrains is essentially Visual Studio, and they've included the C++ engine from C line into Writer because people tend to work in C# and C++ projects often. So Writer has a complete C++ toolchain support. I think it's free, at least for non-commercial work or whatever. I'm not sure, and it's the same engine that's used for ReSharper. So I might give that a shot, to be honest. I think I have read DBG. That's the Rad Tools thing. I have. It's a pretty sweet. At least it looks pretty sweet. I had some trouble with it though. It was kind of shitting the bed a little bit, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see. What the fuck is going on with this light? I keep kicking. There we go. So yeah, we'll see. But maybe next stream you guys will see me in Emacs clacking away. I went back to it just to fuck around, and it was like it felt pretty sweet compared to Visual Studio, just editing wise. Debugging, it's so nice in Visual Studio. Like I'm almost tempted to just keep VS open just to hit F5 and then just do all my work in Emacs. Like I just don't like the Alt Tab thing. Like, and I want to see what, just like Alt Tab between Emacs and Visual Studio would be cool. Yeah, but JBlow. There's also WinDBG, which is not bad. And realistically, like Emacs has just a regular debug. Like most of the time, I just want to see what's inside of an array, or I just installed the latest Qt Creator today. Actually, I just know that as soon as I open it, it's gonna be like compiler toolchain not found or some shit. Like it's. I was having trouble with it on my laptop the other day. I wonder. Let's see. I don't know. Let's see what this thing does. It's probably gonna complain. Yeah, see, it's like a bunch of exclamation marks. Why? I think they haven't brought it up to speed with VS 18. So like Visual Studio 2026. So I think this is going to be the same problem I had on my laptop. But I love this IDE personally. Qt Creator is amazing, like on all fronts. It's just it seems to be complaining. Compiler's fine. Python. Oh, is that all? You just need a Python? Is that all you needed? Okay. Don't select all. Let's then you should show me the file before, like, can I open details? It's because it sees this file. Where is my Kate? Open with, okay, where's Kate? Whatever. I have all the editors. Cancel. Okay, we don't need this. Let's quickly give this a shot. SDK. We're gonna use this bad boy. Of course, we have to fix. This is the worst part about Windows. Actually, the worst part about Windows is having a new European keyboard. Just all the slashes are in the wrong place. No, wrong one. And I bet you should show me. and teach me. Where is it? Am I blind? Where's... No. Okay, configure. Flat buffers, of course, we need flat buffers. Current configuration. Okay, what just happened? What? I think I'm wasting my time right now. Why is it pulling in the wrong? Okay, let's try that again. Okay. Get rid of that. And where did I put that? Okay. Try that again. Out. Okay, we'll get rid of the out directory. I mean, it's honestly not bad in here. It's just I don't know what it's doing right now. Like, it should. How is it that it can't find flat buffers? And why is it not? I'm just gonna close it because it's losing its mind. And just remove this all together. For some reason, it's like, and why does it have to put a bunch of folders in there for me? Let's quickly do that. Okay. Check my thing. Did I do something here? It doesn't like that. Okay, I guess it didn't like that comma that I didn't put there. So, okay. Let's... Is it gonna find everything now? Okay, tiny XML. Good, progress. Problem now is that, like, I don't remember. I think this should be the last one, actually, tiny XML. Or it might need GLM as well. Actually, it's gonna need... it doesn't need this, I think. it needs this. And this. And I think GLM, which is still being pulled in, but I'll get rid of that soon. Let's see. Does it need it? I think it does. Current configuration. Okay, so fucking rerun it with the thing. It's like it doesn't know. It doesn't know how to re-import that preset. Like it supports them, but then only the first time. Okay, whatever. I'll deal with that after. Sorry, like this is just a waste of fucking time right now. Well, I have to fix this so that we can actually see something pretty on the screen, because otherwise I'm just wasting my time, and this stream is boring as hell. So 8 gigs of RAM. Jesus. Oh my god. What are you from the 90s? Gotta get more RAM, Frankie. I'll send you some RAM. Give me your address. Okay. 1 RAM. We measure in. Can I have 1 RAM, please? Okay. This thing is complaining that I'm not giving it the right data when I'm starting a frame, which doesn't make sense. Can I zoom in here? No, I can't. Index descriptor range at index 0 of type CVV have mismatching types. All descriptors of descriptor ranges declared static. Okay. So why? One second. What am I doing wrong here? Like, Okay. Okay, so I'm creating these root parameters. First one is just the number, and then the second one is a table. I'm annoyed because I just refactored a bunch of stuff and it broke something. Essentially, maybe if I talk through it with you guys or whoever's watching, it'll be, helpful. Essentially, in Direct 3D, so you have these you have like this thing called a root signature where it's essentially the data that you're giving to the shaders each frame. So I have an object. This is actually supposed to be per frame. I'm not using it, right? Okay. Yeah. Essentially, what happens is you have these registers, B0, B1, T0, T1, and when you push data to the GPU, you have to first tell it the structure of the data that you're going to pass. So essentially, the way I've done this is every frame, when my engine runs, it calls out to the render system, and in the case with Direct3D12, when it tries to draw something, it pulls out the transform matrix out of that node, and then it pushes it into the renderer. It writes just that matrix and a couple of other matrices actually that I'm using in the shader. Like essentially this, I don't know why I'm explaining it. Essentially, every object has, oh no, you can't see it here. Shit. Every object has like a number of matrices that, oh my god, I'm like on the wrong thing for everything. So essentially, this method gets called for any node in the system that has a mesh component, right? And when you get in here, it first thing it does, and ignore this ugly code right now. I hard coded some stuff because I'm testing this new renderer. But essentially what it's supposed to do is it generates the world matrix, the view matrix. It has just like a fixed camera position at -6 on the Z and 2 up on the Y, a projection matrix. And this all works because this was all working before. And then it creates a world view projection and a normal matrix, which is a modified matrix that I use to transform the normals for the object so that I can do lighting calculations. But essentially the ones I care about are the world matrix. So this is the world transform, the complete world view projection matrix, and the inverse transform, the inverse transpose matrix, which is used, it removes the translation component from the matrix so that the normals don't get moved because they're normals, they're not points. They just need to be adjusted which way they point, but they shouldn't be translated because they'll get longer, right? But essentially, the normals need to stay as unit vectors. So this all works because I was seeing lighting in my shader because I added some basic lighting. And what happens is once I get this matrix, this matrix, and this matrix, I push them into this array of 3 matrices. I write them into it, and then I stage that data and get it ready to go to the... actually, I haven't copied this data yet, so this will obviously be a problem, but that's not why things are breaking anyways. Where is it? No, that's not why things are breaking. Anyway, so it pushes this data, it's supposed to push this data into the GPU, and then it assigns that object like it gives it like a render object ID for that frame. And essentially, each of these matrices get like a base matrix. So let's say the first object will get base of 0, and then inside the shader, it'll pull out the world matrix at 0, what's the other one? The full worldview projection matrix, and then the inverse at 0, 1, and 2 will be essentially the 3 matrices, and then object 2 will get like 3, 4, and 5, and so on and so forth. And then the way it knows that is it gets this render object index. So when something gets drawn, it looks at its render object struct that gets passed in. No, it looks at the... I'm just confusing the hell out of anybody listening to me right now because I just wrote this and it's still fresh in my head, but it's also still a little bit convoluted because I'm still a noob with D3D12. But essentially, I'm pushing the render object index, and then using that index, I pull out the actual render object, which will tell me where the matrices are for this particular object. And then using that base matrix index, I can grab the 3 matrices that I need to actually draw this thing. And then essentially, once I have those, I can just do some basic, like, this is the vertex shader, and this is the pixel shader. And then this one just, punts these out, and then the pixel shader pulls them in and does some basic lighting. And I did this quickly just so I can see some lights, or a light, rather, for now. But this was working, and I just broke it. Yeah, this is, it's like if you come from like an OpenGL background, this is so much more complicated. But essentially, it's not really that crazy. The problem is there's a lot of boilerplate, and there's a lot of points that you can get wrong, right? Like, but essentially, what I need to do, so stage data will push the data for these matrices into like a CPU visible memory. And then I need to actually put a copy instruction after each of these to make sure that it can actually take the data from the staging and then push it into the GPU. Because you can't just copy from the CPU, like you can't push data into the GPU just like that. You have to create like a staging buffer, and then a staging buffer that the GPU can DMA to and from. And then you have to tell the GPU to pull data out of that staging buffer using a command during frame execution. So what I've done here is I actually have like essentially where is it? Every frame at the beginning of the frame, I check this vector for copy operations, like pending copy operations. So essentially, a copy operation will tell the GPU to go to some offset, byte offset, and some size in some particular buffer, and copy that data from that staging, like CPU visible staging buffer, into non-CPU visible, what's called the default heap, which is VRAM, right? Because the CPU, like I said, can't copy into VRAM directly. It has to be the GPU doing the copy from a place that it can see. So I like schedule these copy operations, and you have to say like what state. Yeah, it gets Vulkan's even crazier. D3D12 at least treats you like a sane person, and like it's like, oh, I know what you want. Don't worry. I'll like, it still makes you do everything explicitly, but it's like it kind of holds your hand a little bit. Vulkan is like it brings the toolbox and just like flips it upside down and says, "Knock yourself out, asshole," and it just walks away. That's Vulkan. And that could be cool if I was doing like, if I was some crazy advanced graphics programmer, maybe that's what I would really want, but I don't know. I don't like I said, some of the stuff you have to do in Vulkan, 99.9% of the time, uh, they're going to be the same. So you just end up like writing all this extra code sometimes, or very often for no apparent reason. You know, sometimes you want to step out of that box and like fiddle with knobs, but like I said, 1,500 lines of code to see like a triangle and some basic. I don't know. I don't even remember what I did in the Vulkan tutorial I did recently, but I was trying really hard to keep it down to like 1,000 lines, and it just wasn't. Here, the triangle was at like 400 lines of code. I've already added a bunch of other stuff here, but like much more concise. And I'm doing a lot more with D3D12 than I was doing with the Vulkan render tutorial. So just goes to show you things are just, and they have these like helper classes, by the way. They have like the D3DX12 header, which is like a separate thing that Microsoft gives you. They have these classes or structs rather that start with C. And essentially like this would otherwise be like maybe 8 lines of code. No, it gets better. Once you set up that stuff, once you have the boilerplate, it's there, but you're still having to generally sift through a lot of code to get anything done. And if you're just beginning, like, and you just want to, I don't know, I want to try doing textures and I want to do a skybox and I want to do like, I want to try creating fog or shadows. Like, in order to get your pipeline to do what you want it to do, you have to like tread so carefully around everything because so many things can break, especially when it comes to like when you get into like synchronization and multiple render passes and all this stuff. Like with Vulkan, you could really sit there pulling your hair out, like, fuck, why is this broken? And it's like 18 different things that could have broken. I've been intrigued by it. I'm wanting to work on a course at some point with like a simpler graphics API, and I was wondering if I should do it in Vulkan, not Vulkan, definitely not Vulkan, with OpenGL or use like there's like BGFX I think and SDL3 GPU and a few other ones that are like cross-platform abstraction APIs. I don't know. I wanted to do like a simple 3D game kind of course, kind of like that video that I did, but a 3D one with a little bit more of a complex engine, but still something that people can just jump into and write. But I wasn't sure like what people would want. You know, like D3D12 seems pretty good, but I don't know that a lot of people are going to want to write it, especially people on Linux. Obviously, are not going to want to write it, even with Proton and all this shit. So definitely not DirectX. OpenGL, there's like a stigma. Some people are like, "Oh, it's dead. I don't want to use it." And it's like, well, you're learning. You probably do want to use it, right? I don't know. But maybe SDL3 GPU. I would just suggest anyone starting out just write OpenGL. I think everyone should just write OpenGL code. OpenGL 4.6 is phenomenal. Like there's so much that you can do with it. A lot like Vulkan, you can do command lists, or I think they call them display lists. You can do a lot more. Like it's not a dead API. And if you just want to like prototype and see stuff on screen, like if I was writing OpenGL, which I probably should be right now with this prototyping stuff with OpenUSD, I wouldn't be sitting here reading like this root signature bullshit here. I would just be working on OpenUSD. I wouldn't be wasting my time. And well, okay, I'm not wasting my time, but like it's just I'm distracted and I can't like even fix this bullshit. Even AI is like, no, your code looks good. Everything's fine. I like D3D11 actually. I had a renderer that I started a few months back just to try it, and I enjoyed it. But yeah, I don't know. Okay, so let me see. Let me read this again. Maybe this is where I need the rubber ducky. set graphics root descriptor table, specify GPU destructor handle at 0. No, it didn't. No, it didn't. Because what it specified at 0. See, like, what is this? Where are the rest of my functions? Oh, it's right here. No. Begin. I still don't know the shortcuts in ReSharper for jumping to member functions. But it's, where is the thing? Descriptor handle, descriptor handle. Wait a second. Root parameter index. Okay, no, that's fine. That's fine. Okay. And then in the update function, root parameter index, source data, destination. Okay. Okay, so that should be fine. Why does it think? Why don't we step through the code with our good old debugger and see if we can notice something? Because I'm... Okay. Create the staging buffer. 128 megs of staging memory should be enough. Okay, that's fine. We map it and we keep it mapped. Descriptor heap. Descriptor heap description. I should change that name. It's pretty stupid. Okay. Descriptors per frame are 3 times frames in flight. So that's how many frames I can work on so that the GPU and CPU don't wait on each other. So that should be 9. Okay. Okay. And then we create a heap. And we have a heap. Then we create a constants buffer. Okay. Okay. And we map it. Then we create a buffer for the matrices. Then we'll create another buffer for the render info. 4, 3, and this is, I think, set at 1000. This is how white hair is made, actually, what I'm looking at right now. Okay. This should be fine. I do, but AI doesn't seem to see any problems. AI doesn't see any problems with my code. Like I usually like to write it myself so I get it. Like I don't have it write it for me, but then I'll paste it and I'll be like, spot an error or something. You know what? Let me try it again, but maybe I'll bump up like the agent and switch it to like smarter mode or something. Yeah, AI is pretty fucking stupid sometimes, that's true. But for some reason, okay, I'm gonna take this segment, this whole segment that makes the root signature. And see if AI can spot a boo-boo. Do you spot a boo-boo in either of these code blocks? Or do you spot a boo-boo? Let's just, it knows what a boo-boo is. Maybe I need to have better prompts, eh? Not use words like boo-boo. Well, it said correcting. What are you correcting? Wow, this thing's really thinking. I don't think gamers, or sorry, devs stopped caring. I think with Unity, Unreal, and Godot to a much lesser extent, but with definitely with Unity and Unreal, uh, things got like the bar for entry got so low that people who have no concept of how to structure memory and how to work with the hardware, people who have never been anywhere near that kind of code started making games, and that's fine. But the problem is, especially with Unreal, they sort of market some features like Nanite, like, oh, you don't have to think about polygon counts anymore. You don't have to think about this. You don't have to think about that because Nanite will do this and Lumen will do that, and all these tools will do so much shit for you. But it's like they don't. That like you're supposed to retopologize things. You're not supposed to just feed a 5 million point mesh into your game engine. You're supposed to take that and retopo it and decimate it, whatever. So it's like people who don't care to learn about uber technical things but want to make games started entering the industry, and to to some extent that's a problem. But also studios then have to use an engine that's designed to work well with stupid people, and I'm going to say stupid people because, or let's just say ignorant people, people who don't understand any of this technical stuff. So now major studios are using the same tools as people who don't know their head from their ass. So, you know, you're going to end up with like an engine that's trying to cater to everything. And I think that's part of the problem, right? If you take a course on like character modeling or environment art, like a big chunk of that is how to optimize meshes and how to retopple things and how to reduce overdraw and how to like, there's a lot of stuff that you have to do just in the art stage to get your game to run well. How to reduce draw calls, like that's, you have to think like an engine programmer, right? Like, how do I reduce draw calls? How do I instance stuff? A lot of people aren't doing that kind of stuff. So yeah, you're still gonna get the stutters. Unreal is probably still gonna stutter and shit all over itself. Come on, AI. Let me show you the error. It's like it's reading my code, but it's not finding any problems with it. That's so frustrating. I thought for sure it'd be like, oh, you're stupid. Here's the problem. But no, that's not what it did. That is not what it did. It makes no sense. Yeah, I heard a lot of people had trouble with Silent Hill 5, or Silent Hill F, rather, which is a shame because I was looking forward to that game. Once I have a 1 year old, so I haven't played games at all. Like I'm in bed at like 8:30 every night, but I have a backlog of games, and that's one of them. But it's kind of disappointing, the performance. Borderlands 5. We're at Borderlands 5 now. That's crazy. I'm still playing Borderlands 2, or still playing. I still haven't beaten 2. I played 1. I have a 6750 XT in this computer. I don't even have an Nvidia card. Actually, I do in my laptop. My laptop has a 4070, I think. Ah, okay. That makes sense. That's such a fun game. I gotta get back into it. Like it's like Diablo with guns. I really like it. All the all the loot and shit. Like I find that stuff fun. The AI is like, we have reached the hidden boo boo stage. Specifically, the things that D3D cares about that aren't immediately obvious in the code logic. Let me put this on this screen. Why am I reading it on? I have a TV on the other side. Okay. So yeah, but the problem isn't the freaking byte offset. It's since you're using a counter, that's already done. Oh wait, hold on. What the fuck am I reading? Could that be it? Could that be it? Am I initializing those sizes after that? Tell me. Probably not. It's probably not that, but let's have a look. Oh my god. Fucking AI. Smart bitch. Okay, why? Why am I not? I thought I... Where am I initializing those? Oh my god, I'm only initializing the RTV ones. I am such a fool. Okay, okay. AI comes to the rescue. Okay, that's not even supposed to be there. That's supposed to be in the initialize function. Early on, or before I start doing all this shit. It should be... Where should I put it? Right after this. Okay. What else do I have? RTV DSV. All right, we'll do the DSV as well. UAV. Is there a specific one for DSV? Yes, there is. I didn't even freaking grab, and I already have a depth and stencil buffer, and I didn't even do this. I'm so stupid. I'm like relying on these variables to be ready, and I haven't. Of course, that's going to break everything. Okay, I think that's all I'm using. Maybe we will have some success and we'll get to see colors finally. Okay, not this. Okay, it's not crashing. That's good. And that makes sense because if we look at render doc, the love of my life, and we capture a frame, okay, we're gonna see. Okay, let's see. First thing, are we seeing the right mesh? Where's my mesh? Okay, yes, so the mesh looks correct. Good. This is the triangulated mesh that I processed from the USD. That's good shit. A lot better coding. I think you're probably right. Everyone says to use Claude. I find, you know what? I haven't tried the paid versions of any of these tools. I only Gemini because I pay for Google Workspaces for my business, so I get a little bit of free pro usage, and I find that one's quite good. Your donut is not here yet, but it did spot the problem, or not the problem. It imagined a problem that I could have had, and it was right. And I'm so glad that it did. So it was like, hey, are you sure this value is good? And I was like, am I sure? And we figured it out. So the problem is that now that setup works, the mesh comes in good, but the problem is if I look in the vertex shader, so I have let's see, these are the matrices. See, there are no matrices in here, right? They're all a bunch of zeros because I got to actually copy them from the staging buffer. And also, I need to copy the mesh viewer, no, pipeline state. I get lost in this tool sometimes. So many tabs and lists. The render objects is also a bunch of zeros, right? Because nothing's being copied. But this right now, what this means is that the CPU, like the program and the GPU shader, are in line and they're happy with one another. The CPU is going, this is what I'm giving you, and the shader is like, this is what I'm expecting, and they can shake hands and it's all good. Which is actually a tough part considering what I just did. The setup that I did is kind of gonna pay off quite well in the future, especially when we get to like skeletal animation, because I have this like matrix array, and now things can just refer to this buffer in the vertex shader, and we can animate bones and stuff, which is going to be cool. But we'll get there. The setup is good. Now I just have to make sure that data gets copied. So the way that's going to happen is first we have to look at the begin frame. I'm not making a game. I'm just sort of working on tech right now. I'll probably do I have a game that I made a while back for mobile called Triptych. It's a puzzler. And I really wanted to take the 2D game because I had a lot of good feedback from that game and give it like a really cool, almost like 3 DS era. If you ever played like Picross or something, that era, give it that kind of look, like low resolution but fully 3D kind of cool thing. So I'll probably remake that game in 3D. But also I think I'll work on something for a course that I'm working on, and I'm sort of imagining something like Afterburner. If you know the classic game Afterburner, it's just sort of like constantly flying forward and shooting stuff. So I'm thinking like maybe using the mouse, or if you've got like a gamepad, because it's kind of simple, right? You just got a flat plane that you're flying on top of, and then just a single model that's sort of shooting everywhere, almost like Star Fox, but a little simpler, quite a bit simpler. I think that would make for a pretty cool course. And I'll probably end up just making a little mini game for everyone. Okay. So, okay, we have, where am I setting? Keep getting distracted and sidetracked. Yeah. It's funny, I've never actually worked, well, this will be for desktop, right? But gyro, I don't know, maybe if you have like a PS3 controller plugged in, or I don't know. res the command list. Actually, let me see. I can just copy from my other code. So what I need to do is just copy this batch. And then I will copy this code here. Oops. Wait, what did I just do? Okay. I think you can. I know people use them for other stuff. I'm pretty sure I did something once, years ago, of using my phone as a touchpad just to see what it was like, and you could do it. And you can get a pretty low latency, I think, over USB especially. It'll be like stupid fast. Okay, so we need to copy buffer region. Actually, res.command list copy buffer region. We're copying into the buffer is going to be M matrix buffer, and we're going to copy at offset. Oh, I hope you guys can hear that little cuteness. Let me see. Let me see. Where am I getting my matrix? Oh, basin. Okay. So let's put this actually here. We get our render object. Okay. So the offset should be the base ro.base matrix times size of object matrices. And then the source buffer is going to be the staging buffer. No, it should be M staging buffer get. Offset is going to be yeah, she's like learning to walk now, like starting to learn to walk, and she's just like moving around everywhere, and then she stands up and kind of like holds against the wall and tries to move around, and she gets super excited about everything. She's so cute. Okay, source offset. So does this give me? Okay, good. I'm so smart. It gives me the in32 stage offset. I already have that set up exactly as needed. And but why am I doing 32-bit? Because I don't need 64-bit. I'm not doing more than 4 gigs of mesh data. I might regret that statement later, though. I'll tell you now. Offset. Matrix offset. And the size that I'm copying. Oh wait, why did I do that? That's wrong. This should be at the last parameter. this is the destination offset, which is just no, I had that right. I had that right. This is the destination offset, and this is just the number of bytes, which is just size of obj matrices. What's this complaining about? This needs a get. Okay, good. We need a semicolon and a new line. Make this a little easier to read. And then here we need a transition to tell DirectX actually no, let's do this. We're gonna actually utilize more of our code. And we're gonna push one here. Did I need this? This is getting messy. I'm gonna have to clean this shit up. This is how mistakes happen. And then after the second, where's the second stage? Did I just delete something that I shouldn't have deleted? No, I didn't. Okay. It's good. It's good. It's good. That's fine. Okay, so what? Can I now just do this? Why did I do that? Okay. And then here we stage that, and we're gonna say uint32t u. I gotta say, ReSharper has this lag when you type that's really fucking annoying. RO offset. It just looks like I wrote roof set. What should I call it? Rend obj, or how about we just say r obj, so it reads a little robj offset. Okay, and then that's gonna be okay. That's already good. And then let's do this like that. We'll worry about this in a second. ClangD is so much nicer, like in terms of, because it's able to work with, like, it understands the code a lot better, right? Like it's a compiler, so it's able to make a lot more sense of your code in terms of like completions and refactors and everything, right? It's got a more thorough understanding. IntelliSense is just like, I bet their code is just like a pile of craziness trying to parse all these years of C++. Because when I toss this into Emacs, it's just like no problem, like no problem. And this thing I can smell like smoke when I open this project with standard. But ReSharper is nice, but I feel like as I move the cursor and make edits, like I can feel the lag, which wasn't there before running ReSharper. Which is unfortunate because like why would I have editor lag, right? Like what is it doing every time I move the cursor or type that what is it doing on the main UI thread that's causing lag? To me that just seems like you would fundamentally not do anything on the UI so that I can have like proper responsive typing. I tried Clang CL the other day on my laptop, and it was pretty cool. It worked. It was fast. I didn't try parsing this project. I was just doing some testing. But OpenUSD seems to be using some sort of outdated Intel threading framework. And OpenCL didn't like that. There was some code in there that was just not compiling anymore. It's like some old school C++. And I didn't feel like fiddling with compiler flags and bullshit. And I just sort of left it alone. But I'll probably get back to it and try it. I think I was actually asking AI if using Clang CL and the LLVM toolchain replaces the indexing, like the IntelliSense indexing, and it said yes. Like it uses Clang D, I think, maybe, or at least it should. I don't know what it does, but it said it does. Which, if it works well, I might just switch to Clang CL and stick with VS, or go back to my first love, Emacs. I don't know. We'll see. Or maybe I should just jump on the VS Code train and just be like everyone else. I hate these like Electron apps. Like I despise Electron. Like I don't need everything to be a fucking browser like Spotify and Slack and Discord and via everything's a little mini browser engine. Like I don't like running them. And you can see that there you can like control R and like refresh as if it's a browser, you know? Or at least I've done it accidentally. Sometimes it like glitches out unless you refresh the app. Okay. Let's finish this and then I'll blab some more, but I have to get this working. Yeah, seriously. And you're right, Microsoft, it's weird. They're like either brain dead or amazing. You know what I mean? Like there's some stuff that they do that's just phenomenal, and some stuff is just it's almost like they have different teams, you know? Okay. That's staged. That's also staged. Okay, and let's group this code so it's easier to read. We'll have next matrix index. Okay, we'll do that here. And now, so that'll copy the matrices, and this will copy the render object. And this will go in the M render object buffer, okay? And that will be oh, that's stupid. I should save that. Okay. I use LDB sometimes on Windows. I actually did a video on on YouTube on how to use LLDB that people seem to like quite a bit. Like that was my main tool. I would always just Alt Tab to terminal. I used to work on a MacBook, and the Clang tool chain is like what you use there. And I used to use LLDB a lot. And I used to hate the fact that like Emacs didn't have LLDB support built in, because Richard Stallman and maybe some other people in that little GNU group were, I don't know, there was like an email that someone posted about how there's like a planned hostile takeover of open source projects or some, I don't know, some bullshit. Like, so they were just like not accepting what are they called, pull requests for adding LLDB support into Emacs. So like Emacs, I had to just use GDB, which didn't work quite well with the Clang toolchain or something. I can't remember. It used to bug me. So anyways, I used to use LLDB a lot from the terminal though. It's actually quite nice. On Windows, it's kind of bullshit. It works, but the tab key doesn't work to get completions. And that drives me nuts, because when you're doing compiler stuff from the terminal, you need completions. Because you'll be like B for breakpoint, space, and then start typing a file you want to put a breakpoint on, and it just puts a tab character, right? Like let's say I want to put a breakpoint on line 588 on a real Unix prompt, or in WSL you can do it. It works normally, but that's doesn't work well for me if I'm doing graphics programming. But you could do like, you press D3D12 tab, and it'll complete render system.cpp, and then I think it'll even put a colon for you at the end, and then you just type 588. So you just basically type B space, start typing D3D, hit tab, and then 588, and you have your breakpoint, right? And you just hit enter, and then type R for run, and hit enter, and then like you could debug quite efficiently with the command line. But on Windows, the tab key just doesn't work, and no one's fixed it. I don't know. Maybe a different terminal or something would fix it. I don't even know what the problem was. I looked at it briefly, and I was just like, fuck this, I'm doing something else. But that's such a productivity disruptor, or whatever you want to call it. Is Zed, was Zed like a native thing? Ugh, fuck, everything's AI. Open, and it's gonna spam you with like, try our agent. It looks nice. But can I check my email in Zed? That's a deal breaker for me. I need to be able to check my email and read RSS feeds. Okay, so we're copying from, or no, we're copying. Why did I put those backwards? It should be source and then destination. I put destination first, then source. Sometimes I think with my ass, I think. Okay, but anyways, the destination is the object buffer starting at this index, byte offset. The source is the staging buffer, and then the source offset is the stage matrix offset, which is not, it's the stage RO offset, and the size of is render object. See, like, I don't know if you guys can see that in the stream, if anyone's actually watching, but it like freezes up and shit. Okay, so this will be, no, we need 2. Actually, I don't need a vector. Let's use some modern C++. std array barriers, and we're gonna do that. Actually, we're going to do, I think there's a constructor for it. Maybe they'll integrate a browser so you can check your email inside Z with, yeah. What was the, I keep forgetting, it's like some Polish guy's name or something. Whatever's law. Fuck, something about like, until your editor has a email client or something. I can't remember, whatever. Let me finish this line of code. I'm such a child, I keep getting sidetracked. So this has no constructor for that, that's fine. Then we'll do this. Transition. And the state before, I think. Oh my God, I keep forgetting how I do this stuff. Copy, where am I doing my, copy operations, schedule GPU copy. What am I doing here? I'm pushing back a copy operation. This is copy, okay, good. D3D does this thing where when you create something, it puts it in like a common state. And then when you execute it in a command list, it like there's like decay states and stuff. Like I gotta read more about this stuff, but like is my code, does it look sloppy or is it just because you don't know what the hell I'm doing? I'm guessing that's why. Okay. Yeah, that's not what I'm trying to do. I just need to transition from D3D. Yeah, why am I copying and pasting? D3D12 resource state copy destination. Oh, do I have to? I do. Do I transition the whole thing? Okay, we'll figure that out. It's going to be D3D12 resource state shader. What is it? Shader resource? Pixel shader resource? No. Does it matter? Let's try this. And of course we need the resource. That will be the matrix buffer. Get. This gives me, what does this give me? Takes like an hour to show me the pop-up. This gives me a C D3DX12 barrier, okay? Let's just do auto. Match matrix barrier. Okay, and then we're gonna do another one for the R-obj barrier, except it's gonna be on the M object buffer. And then we can just do a good old std array and put the matrix barrier and the R-obj barrier. Why is it complaining? Do I already have a barriers thing? Like, show me the pop-up. It's already been declared. Okay, where did I declare the other one? Right here. We don't need this anymore. We just need to do this, and this, and this. Okay, so we stage the data into the upload heap. This is a GPU visible and CPU visible memory. We stage it. That means the data is actually copied, and we're going to step through this. Let's use the debugger. Okay, so we're calling, let's step up and I just want to see something. Process systems, and the object that we're processing is index 99. Why is it index 999? Anyways, whatever. I think that's fine. Okay, so staging. Essentially, the staging is like there's like a pointer that keeps moving every frame, and you can stage a bunch of data, and then it goes and it says, okay, how much data do you want to stage? And you say, okay, the size of this object here. So let's step in. The size is, step in. The source pointer is fine. The size is 192 bytes, and the alignment is 4, which is fine. So the aligned size is probably going to be 192. It's fine. Then it makes sure there's enough space in the staging buffer, and there is, because there's like 128 megs. And then it copies that data that I gave it at this pointer, at this size. It copies it into the staging buffer, and it moves that pointer forward so something else can copy from that point on. And this gets reset every frame, so it just keeps, as you copy data, it just goes tuk, 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 and it just kind of like gets it ready in chunks. And that looks like it works well. And then it figures out the data offset. Yeah, okay, perfect. So it tells me where it copied it in the staging buffer, and that is the address, the data offset. And then this thing does the same thing, which makes sense, right? The size of this is just one matrix, I think 64 bytes. So from 80832 to 81024, or is it 2 It's fine. I'm sure it's fine. Okay, now we're saying to copy into the matrix buffer. Base matrix index is 0. The size of the matrices. We have errors. What's the problem? Did I create a buffer with the wrong flags? Resource state, non-pixel shader, and pixel shader. What? If anybody doesn't know, Visual Studio has bookmarks, which I forget to use when I'm jumping around a lot of code. But if you hold Control and hit K and then K again, it toggles a bookmark. You can see it on the side here. And anywhere you want to quickly jump around in your code, just do Control KK, and then you can do Control KP, and you can jump through all your Visual Studio bookmarks. So when you know that you're going to come back to a piece of code often while you're working, you can just like Control KK and then go somewhere else and then just Control KP and just cycle through them until you get back there real quick. I think there's also like a pop-up you can get that lists them, but they're not very clear. It's like a file and a line number. It's not really that interesting. Okay, so what did I do? I created the buffer wrong or something? What did I do? Heap flag none. Does it need to be... shader resource visible descriptor? Yeah, okay. Is that all it is? No. That's a descriptor heap. Okay. I don't think I need to do anything here. Or maybe the descriptor is actually wrong. Let me read that error again. I need to copy buffer state, resource state, non-pixel shader resource, or ORD. So it's going to be both of these. Assumed at first use of resource, blah, 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 enable. Oh, okay. I understand. So it wants it to be this state. It wants the object, and I have it set to common, which is not what it wants. Okay, let's give it what it wants. And why pixel shader resource? Why not? It's going to be using the vertex shader too. I guess that's what this part does. What now? New initial state. Okay, no. So maybe I need to. Wait a second. Hold on a second. This is D3D being helpful. It's being helpful, and I'm not giving it the attention it deserves. And the reason for that is, where did it fail on these? Because I need to transition. I don't need to transition. I'm going to stay a man, but I need to transition this code. I think I have to do. Or no, it needs to be. Let's ask AI what it thinks about this problem. And it might even spot something stupid from me talking and. Okay, that's what I thought. Stop reading. Yeah, I know why I can't skip the first two. If the shaders or see, I don't want to do this the first time. I'm not gonna have an if. Oh, I hate stuff like this. Maybe I'll do that. I think I'll do that. That's a good idea. That's why I'm asking. Okay. All right. So we'll do non-pixel shader resource because we don't need them in the pixel shaders. We need them in the vertex shaders. Okay. And then here, okay, let's do that. What is the type of this? D3D12 resource states. Okay. Okay, and let's start this off at okay. All right, okay. Oh, I gotta like clean this code up. There's just so much like direct D3D12 use here. Okay, so then after this, okay, let's be a little bit better here. Not AB, we'll do pre, and then we'll do post. Oops, not pro. I'm anal about these things. Okay, and then we'll do. No, this one was. Not the barriers, the buffers. Okay. Why am I doing that? Why am I doing that? Can't I make this even easier to read? No, yes, I can. Okay. I don't have to have all these different names for things. Why is this complaining? Oh. Okay. Let me get rid of this. And then I'll use this new format. Okay, so at this point, it needs to use whatever state the thing is in. No, that's at the other point. Okay. Now, at this point, we need to get it from whatever state it's in into destination copy. Dest or copy dest. Okay, so this will transition the barriers so that it can be copied to, and then we'll schedule the copies, and then we need to transition them from copy dest into this flag. And let's just write that flag. Auto. Oh my god. Flag equals boom. Or state rather. End state. And that will be end state. End state, because I plan on changing this eventually. And then we can say m matrix buffer state equals end state, and then m object buffer state state. Fucking okay. It's gonna feel fun cleaning this code up later, but for now it needs to be explicit and it needs to work correctly, and then we can optimize and clean it and whatever after. It's always more fun to optimize something slow than to optimize something you've prematurely optimized. You know, it's like one of the joys in life are like seeing something run very slowly and then write some code and make it fast. But if you like prematurely try and do that, you never get that joy. Same with sloppy code, you know? Okay, let's see. comment. So that shouldn't complain. Resource variable before state, comment or present a resource specified in transition does not match with the current resource. Oh, well, yes, I need to change the create. I think I still have, or no, or did I change that? What? How is that the current state? What? For state. Before state of resource does not match with the current resource state. But how is it? Before I ask a stupid question, look at that code again. It's actually the Direct3D runtime that's giving me those errors. This is coming from Direct3D12. There's like debug, like a debug validation system that looks at how you're using DirectX. Vulkan has the same thing, like they're called validation layers. And if you do something that doesn't line up well with what it's expecting, it might still work, but I have it set up that if it sees that I'm misusing the API somehow, it just kind of freaks out and tells me, don't do that. And then it crashes, which is good because you don't want any of these kind of validation errors or even warnings for that matter. Because as soon as you get into a gray area because of validation errors or warnings, even if your code looks like it's running, some people might be tempted to just ignore it. You take it to another machine and then you're like, what the fuck? And it doesn't work. Sometimes you have no errors or warnings and you take it to another computer and then you start to see validation errors and warnings. Like I moved from this computer to my laptop and my laptop has 2 GPUs and it like shows you things. Like I had an error where because the screen is physically wired to the Intel card, but I was using the NVIDIA chip on the laptop, and it has to do this little like memory piping through both cards in order to get the picture on screen, because it can't display it, like nothing's hooked up to the NVIDIA GPU, and the laptop screen is physically wired to the Intel GPU, and I was doing something where the Intel GPU was hanging on to like the picture longer than it would if it was directly hooked up to that. If I was directly displaying the NVIDIA image, it's so hard to explain this because it's kind of complicated, but essentially because of this little hardware nuance, my code was like, slight delay in something and the synchronization wasn't working. And you got to take this stuff into account when you're doing like these modern APIs like DX12 and Vulkan. It sounds way harder than it really is. Like you'll run into these things once and then, fix it and you're good. Okay, so yeah, that works. That works for things that throw exceptions. And then you start writing game code and you're like, no exceptions. Even though I really should look more into, because I always just avoid exceptions, but I think C++ compilers are smart enough to not create overhead for code paths that don't catch or don't throw. So if none of your code throws, then you're okay. But exceptions are good. They can be helpful in like all the UI code that I do. Exceptions are definitely handy. But that's in C sharp. All the engine tooling is going to be done in C sharp, as I think you guys have seen. Okay, so how is it that this is starting in common state? These are my buffer creates, but D3D is complaining when I try to transition them from common to... Wait a minute, is that... Hold on. No, that wasn't the problem. Copy dest that they are not in common, but non-shader resource or pixel shader. State promotion. Yeah, there's state decay and state promotion. But like, even though you explicitly create these buffers with common, D312 on most hardware automatically promotes certain resources from common to other states the moment you first use them, or even just because of how they were created. For buffers, specifically those created with D3 type default with no special flags, D3 allows implicit state transitions. If you previously bound these buffers to a descriptor table that the shader uses, or if you had a previous frame that ended with none, the validation layer tracks the remembered state. When you then try to transition from common, the layer says, wait, I've already... Okay. So then they must start in this state, even though I tell them not to start in that state. It's weird. Like, I actually had that state in here, and it complained that I tried to create them in that state, only for it to then move it to that state for me implicitly. That's weird. Or where is that implicit change happening, actually? Maybe. Maybe it's happening. No. Is that happening? Really gotta learn this shortcut with ReSharper. Is that happening here? No. Okay, well, let's see. Is that all it is? Yeah, Clang has better error messages. I'm a fan. Same with GCC. It's they're getting better. They're pushing Microsoft to get better too. You know, before Clang became really popular and people started using it heavily, I feel like Microsoft were dragging their feet a little bit, and then GCC started pulling its weight a little bit more because of Clang, and competition's good, you know. Okay. What now? So it promotes it to both of those? Like, why? I promise my streams are going to get better once I get this investment in. I'll start working with the engine more and less so with the guts of the renderer, and we'll start seeing flashing colors and animations on the screen. It's just the last couple of weeks have just been like technical debt, you know, like nitty gritty, like UI engine and like communication stuff and starting new renderers. Okay, good. So that transitions it. The schedule, the copies are scheduled. Okay, end state. Oh, what is the problem now? Draw indexed instanced. What? The fuck does that even mean? What does that even mean? What do you mean it can be deduced? You fucking said that it can't be. Oh, I guess now it can be? Okay, good. That's what I wanted to do to begin with. Okay. Okay, what's that? This error is... Oh, that looks bad. I don't know what the hell that is. Fuck does that mean? How? What? No. Does this mean that it thinks that I changed my vertex or index buffer? So it assumes that it should be in a writable state? Did I close Gemini? No. Oh, okay. Okay. So I need to move that stuff. No, I'm not gonna do the easy fix. I'll need to move. No, probably per frame. Yeah, that's already done. So it's, yeah, it's definitely not the index and vertex buffer. Okay, so then I'm just binding my, this is happening. Okay, let's try the dumb fix first and see if it fixes it. So instead of binding this stuff here, which it doesn't need to be here, wait a second. Can I do that? I should be able to do this once. I don't need to do this every time. That's stupid. I need to do this transition. Why am I doing that every time? That's so dumb. This needs to happen before the matrix and RO buffers to copy destination. And then at the end of the frame, what the hell already? Is the food here already? Well, I ordered it over tomorrow. Oh, because you were just. Can you? It's still live. Okay. Okay. Breakpoint. And then. That makes sense. Okay, let's see. She sounds ridiculous. So now Oh wait, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So how the fuck am I supposed to do this? Okay, let's ask AI. Where's that fucking window? So it doesn't like that I'm transitioning those buffers after I have set the root signature. I imagine doing this correctly. Let's put this in a better mode. Would entail start the frame. Starting, okay, let's do this. 1. Start of begin frame. Transition buffers to copy dest. For every call to draw an object, we would for every call to draw an object, we write the copy operations into the command list and keep track of the draw parameters in a list. At the end of the frame, transition the buffers to SRV compatible. Finally, set the root signature. Set up the iterate over the drawable list and the frame as normal. That's how I'm imagining this. Hopefully there's a better way, but we'll see. This is where like my classic API thinking, like if you're an OpenGL developer or D3D11 developer, like this is where you have to change your thinking. There's no like begin frame, draw, end frame. Like you have to think of it in data and data transition steps more so than like frame steps. I know this anyone that's actually watching, there's like 5 people, but like it's probably like, what is this guy talking about? But essentially, like when you're working with the GPU and you're telling it to draw stuff, you're giving it data and you're saying draw this, use this, refer to this, and you're giving it little bits of buffers, and you're dispatching calls to run vertex and pixel and whatever shaders, right? In order for the GPU to be able to read and write stuff, that memory has to be transitioned from one state to another at the appropriate moments. And this is what I'm dealing with right now, is that like I am writing to something after I've started a process, and I can only write to that thing before I start this other process. So I have to like restructure some of my stuff. And I mean, I was hoping I wouldn't have to, like, this is something I want to do anyways for indirect drawing. I mean, let me see something. I did this in Vulkan. This is a step towards indirect drawing anyways. I will just have a list of draw commands for now that I'll iterate over, but eventually I'd like to rewrite the format of that list so that I can hand it off to the GPU in one go and draw in direct. Okay, yes, I know. So, okay, so all of this stuff, this doesn't belong here. This stuff does not belong at the beginning of the frame. This stuff belongs at the end of the frame when you've processed all of your objects that you're going to draw, and you submit all that stuff to the GPU. So, and we'll fix that typo in a second. Okay, end frame. This is where this stuff needs to happen. And then draw all objects. And then actually, inside of the update call, I don't call draw directly. Inside of here, okay, let's make a little struct to hold that data. Let's call it a struct draw operation. And that we need just need the mesh really. The handle to that mesh is, what did I say? These are just GPU size T's. Okay, good. So it's going to be GPU mesh handle, H mesh, or let's be mesh handle. And then from that, I can actually, oh, that's easy. Okay, good. So I had to set up correctly, I have to fix this magic number. Anybody in the chat poking me? Shut up or anything? Where's the chat? There's the chat. Oh, no one's talking. Okay, so all I need to do for now, it's going to be, let's make a vector, std vector, and we'll say draw operation and draw operations. Let's say, what is it? MC get handle. That's all we need. No, we need to say draw operation MC get handle. Okay, and this will now move. Where's end frame? Isn't that where I was? Here. We'll say for const draw operation draw op and m draw operations. We're gonna do all this stuffs, and we'll say draw op dot mesh handle. That should give us what we need. And then once we're done, we can immediately reset. We'll say m draw operations dot clear. I always forget, this clear reset the memory? No, right? I think it just moves the pointer back to the beginning. And what I'm going to do also is let's just be greedy. And we're going to be greedy, and what we're going to do is we're going to go to the initialize method, and we're going to say matrix blah 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 blah. We're going to say oh my god, resharper draw operations dot, we're going to reserve, let's reserve a shitload, the capacity of the world. I haven't seen this run in so long that I'm afraid that it's like when your code's been in this state of limbo for so long, you're like, will it ever work again? Okay, so the capacity for this should be, actually it doesn't even show me. Oh, it does, okay, good. Where am I failing now? Fuck off. Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense. Okay. That's okay. That's okay. We can move this. We don't. How am I going to do this? That's fine. Easy fix. Easy fix. And that easy fix is not doing that here, but doing that here. And putting what's cool. Actually, fuck off. We will not do that. And then we're gonna say draw op.row index. Is there a 0? Did I put a 0 by accident? Yes, I did. And then do that. And then what? That's fine. I think I can feel my brain slowing down. End of day. I'm getting lost in simple code. That I am, my friend. That I am. Yeah, this is what I need to fix. There we go. RO index. Why was that not coming up? RO index. I think that should be good. I probably should. My wife ordered food because we decided to be lazy. I'll probably just head off soon. I just want to see this work. I'm like so close, and then I can commit my code and then just go. I don't want to leave it like in limbo, but I might. I don't know. If it doesn't work, if I stumble something else that requires a bunch of code, I might just leave it at that. Okay, so we got RO index. We got a mesh handle. Okay, so luckily it's just one draw operation per frame, so that should be easy. I'm gonna reorder these functions. No, that's not what I wanted to do. Fucking every time, like. Why is that the expected? Fine. I'll give you what you want. Fucking European keyboards. Resource. Well, the crashing's gone. That's a good sign. There's no validation errors. That's a good sign. Where is my teapot? It's not a teapot, but whatever. Where's my UFO sphere thing? Let's see what render doc has to say. Capture a frame. Good. Okay. Mesh viewer. Okay, see, the mesh is there. That's phantasmic. But I think Okay. I mean, this is a very good sign. It's probably something really stupid. What? How is there no matrix? I don't have constant buffers. Like, what? How are these all 0? That makes no sense. Those are getting copied. Those are getting copied, man. Start the frame. Prepare them to copy. Wait a second. Yeah. Prepare them to get copied. Transition them. And then every single time we want to draw, we stage the data. Stage the data. And then we copy it. So the problem's got to be here somewhere. Okay, so we have the matrices for this guy. Clearly, it's fine. There's transforms are in there. And what am I doing? I'm staging that data. Wait a second. Am I doing that wrong? I don't think I need to do that, but I'm gonna try it anyways. I forget these things sometimes. No. Okay, let's put a breakpoint in there again. Okay. Copying this data, it's aligned. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, so the data is in there. It's definitely in there. this that I don't trust. Okay. I would ask ChatGPT, but it doesn't have a good view of my code. Um, I mean, sometimes I like to just dump it my code and be like, "Do you see a problem with this block of code?" Because sometimes the error is just like a stupid typo that I could be staring at for the next 3 hours, or it might be able to find it for me. Do you see an issue with? It might spot something. This staging and copy code. Here is the stage method as well. Who knows? I've changed so many things that I wouldn't be surprised if I broke something. Two significant logical boo-boos. I used the word boo-boo with it, and now it's using it in like one regarding a math indexing, one regarding CPU GPU sync. Double. That's because I just moved that stuff. Hold on a second. I just moved that shit, and I probably haven't fixed it. Where was that? Begin frame? No, that wasn't the update function. Yes, base matrix index. Okay. Oh, wait a second. Yes. That's wrong. Fuck. That's wrong. That has to be, should be next RO index maybe I can use. But definitely not the base matrix index. That has to be. I mean, I bet the AI gave me the answer, but I'm being stubborn and not taking it. Let me see what it's saying. Oh, large array. It's probably saying, or I can just do this. Actually, that's also smart. Yeah, it's saying use the object index or just that, and that's actually probably safer. I'm gonna go back to that. So instead of using the object index, we'll just say size of xm float for, oh my god. Okay. And what's the other logical booble that it found? The staging stomp synchronization, the most common D3D crash correction cause. What? Why would it? So I need to have a staging buffer per frame. Hmm. I think that the robot is right. But I still shouldn't be getting a black screen. I'm not there yet. Like I probably would have done this anyways, but I'm not there yet. Why am I getting a bunch of zeros in the matrix buffer? That makes no sense. Yeah, it's just zeroing out everything. What? What about if I just do it slightly smarter? So instead of using logical offset or staging offset directly, I can say I can just carve this one large buffer up into 3. Mm. I should just have 3 buffers. This is stupid. And let's do it like a little more sane. I don't need that much fucking memory per frame. Okay, I can do this quick. I don't think this is the problem. Okay, before I change that, why would this even be happening? I don't think this is the problem anyways. I want to see this fucking thing on the screen. Why am I not seeing anything on the screen? Of course I'm not recreating it. Okay, look. Look at my buffer. And then, actually that's all. It already saw the staging call. It is. It's just one object. That's why it doesn't matter. One sec. Alright, I think I'm gonna come back to this after because I need a break. And I bet I'll wake up and when I get to this code, I'll solve it in like 10 minutes. Because it's not any of this dumb shit that it's suggesting here. I'll have to just read through it, make some changes, and come back to it. Well, whoever is still watching, thanks for watching me struggle. I promise these will get more interesting soon. In fact, if I stream tomorrow, they'll be much more interesting because I'll actually have stuff on the screen rather than all this back and forth pushing bits and bytes around. So anyways, thanks for watching, guys, and have a good day, night, whatever it is your time. Adios.